Let's paint this super cute Picasso bug. So we are going to paint this bug. It kind of looks like yellows and greens with some black. It's actually really pretty. All the different areas you can see. I have it here on my phone. And so to do this, we're going to start by first making everything a light yellow. So I have a tiny little strip here. So getting a lighter yellow, my yellow is very bright. So I can like do one hair of black into my yellow. And I'm just going to mix it right here. So one hair of black into my yellow. And by one hair, I mean touch the black here on your paint in your wow, not really the actual black. And see if you can make from super bright to a little bit more dull, like this one. I like to, as soon as I mix, I like to touch my water cup once, and then I will paint everything. I do, oops, not there, this one. I just touched the wrong one. I do like to paint over everything, and then I will come back and define it. So this is like a nice background color. I'm not going to paint the head or paint the head. What the heck? Paint the head. And I just want to paint everything the same light color, yellow. A little bit more water so it flows, but it doesn't make a bubble. So they can show you it's pretty wet. And then we need to let that dry. So paint it and then let it dry. So if your yellow was too bright, add a tiny bit of black to just get to this yellow so it's not so bright. Then, while this one is drying, let's mix our greens. So I'm going to use the same kind of yellow black as my base. And I'm going to add like a tiny bit of olive green. So if I can show you what olive green looks like, it's like this. And so I'm going to mix two greens with it. I'm going to mix these two together and I'm going to use this as my base. And why I like to do that is because it always feels like they are more, I want to say matching when you start with this and then you add a little bit of the yellow, a little bit of the green, and you have a nice base. And then what I can do is I can try it on top of that to see what it looks like. And I kind of like the way it looks. So they're kind of matching. Okay. So yellow as your base. And then add olive green and viridian green to get a nice green. The place where you can try it, they should be dry by now if you mixed it. So the way you see is if it's still shiny, it's too wet, or if you touch it and it's wet, you will feel. But if you don't want to touch it, if it's shiny. So just double check. It's good. Okay, I'm going to start here. Sometimes when you mix paint, there's a lot of water on your brush. So you may just want to suck it up on your towel, which is right here. You can see my little drop, and then you want to paint. And see what it looks like. Oh, it's pretty. I can even go a bit darker. Okay, so paint your first layer. Even if it's a little too light, we can always come back and add more. And then there's markings on his body, so I cannot just paint over everything. I want to make sure that I want to show you all the things. I want to make sure that I can see the lines. So getting your color, follow the curve here, go down, go a little closer, go down, and then stop kind of on the end of the circle. And then follow along on this side, make it a little smaller. Go close to that line and kind of fade a little bit in here. Let's go to this one. So follow the curve at the top. I'm running out of my color. And then follow a little closer. Like this. Go a little closer to that circle. And then kind of stop here. You may have to play around a little bit with your color, your green. So all I did was I picked up a little bit more green and I want to just see if I can drop it. Even if it's wet, it will not go anywhere else. It will just kind of stay here. And I just want to see if I can make it a little bit darker. So I'm just painting everywhere I just painted. And sometimes that happens when you just had too much water, or it's just a little bit lighter than you think. You can just kind of add it like this. I want to clean my brush. I want to make sure I suck it up and then mess up a little here at the bottom so it's a little softer even more. So you have 4 places basically that you painted this green. Even drop in a little bit more color if you think it's light. It always dries a bit lighter, so it's very easy to just come back and add more. Then here at the bottom, I want to give his booty kind of the idea of roundness. So I'm going to flip it over like this because it's a little easier for me to see where my paintbrush is pointing. I'm going to take the same color, the yellow with the black, maybe add it a little blacker so it's like, a little darker, but still yellow as your base. So I just have some yellow right here. And this will be your color, like a little gray. And then not completely on the edge, but like a little bit to the inside. I'm going to give my bug this little round booty. And I'm going to come all the way around, kind of, till his first leg. I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to suck it up. And I'm going to swishy it a little bit so it doesn't make a hard edge. When it's wet, you can always come back and drop in a little bit more color and you will see how it flow. And immediately it will feel a little bit more rounded. I didn't go all the way up. I kind of stopped by this first black circle that's not black yet that we're going to paint. So I kind of just let it do over here. So it just gives me that roundness. And then I'm going to get a brown. Now, my brown is very dark. I'm adding a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of yellow and orange to my brown to get a somewhat lighter brown. So yellow and orange, and I'm just going to mix it. So I am mixing it right here. So brown, orange, yellow, orange, brown. And I just have a warmer kind of brown. So instead of having a very dark kind of blackish brown, I can make it a little warmer. And I'm doing the bottom section of this green spot. And I'm going to do the bottom of this one. I'm going to give a little swishy here at the bottom, so make a little V. I'm adding some water to it to make it lighter, so not so dark. And I'm filling in over my yellow, this little spot. Now, the nice thing is it will look so different on top of your yellow, just because yellow is now the background color. So you want to kind of see yellow, but you want to have like a little brown tint. And the same with this one. And the same with this one. And the same with this one. So there's 4 circles. And if it feels very dark, clean your brush, suck it up, and just do a little circle in between, and you will push it to the sides, and the sides will be black. So it doesn't matter if you kind of push it a little bit to the sides. I'm also going to take this light brown, and over here, I'm just going to give it a little tiny swishy of the light brown. And I clean my brush, I suck it up, and I blend it out. So the V, 1, 2, darker brown, and then light, 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 light. And then I'm going to take the same brown, and I'm going to do my leg right here. So where the leg is touching the body. It's going to be 4 on this side. And then this bottom one, you're going to see a little of the brown coming down. And then on the other side, you're going to see that tiny little leg, and maybe you don't have this leg anymore, and that's okay. And it basically just forms that side. So I'm just checking, we're not done with this leg going down. So you make this first one, and then you can even make the second one. I guess we can make the second one also brown, brown. Take the same color of brown and add a tiny bit of black to it to make it a dark brown. So I'm going to mix it and then show you. So if this was your color, you want to go a little bit darker. So black can make it darker. You can also use 1 hair of purple, meaning very little purple, and you can mix it in that. And you want to have a darker color. And then give little legs. And it's all just one color for now. And I think you can go down here and give a little leg. So it's not too dark, if I can show you. It's a little bit on the light side. There you go. Sometimes it takes a minute to just focus. Make that color even darker. So go more black. So even darker, like more black. And then give antennas. I'm going to paint these big ones. And then I'm just going to go choo, choo, choo. So break it up in like a stipple line. So it looks like your little bug antennas. And then like the shadow over here. So we want to make everything kind of on the bottom towards the right a little darker. So I am making, I don't have enough paint on my brush. Hold on. And you can switch to a smaller brush too if you want to, but I'm going to make everyone kind of separate, a little darker towards the bottom. And I'm going to divide them. Like that. And on this side, at the bottom, next to his body, touching the body, can go a little darker. See how it really stands out? And even if you feel the contrast is too much, you clean your brush. And then from the top, I'm just going to kind of mess up that edge a bit, pulling it out, making it a little softer. I also, because I'm not going to do, well, maybe we should do a shadow, but maybe if I'm not doing a shadow, I will take my brush, and you can also switch to your smaller one, and on top of my pencil line, so replacing basically my pencil line, you can kind of give a little gray outline. I didn't switch to my smaller brush, but you definitely can. And you can just kind of give a little outline and then let it kind of just fade up here. Not so big like I just did there, but you know, like a little faint outline. And then at the moment, it just looks weird because we have these legs and then everything is just so soft. So now we're going to come back and do the black. I'm going to start from the head and then work my way here. So you can use your black as it is, or you can mix it with a little bit of a brown, or just as it is. I'm going to still paint with my smaller brush. I'm not going to switch yet. And more black, right? So if you start painting and it's a little light, just touch your black again. There's like two open spaces. I'm just going to paint around them. There's another big kind of open space there. And then there's like a little triangle on his back. Kind of did trace it. Kind of something like that shape. And then this big triangle. Now you kind of, wait, I need more. So be careful with your water ratio. If it's too wet, it's going to be too difficult. Now I want to touch the brown, but I don't want to cover it up. So I want to go into my little V shape a little bit. And I'm just going to tap, tap, tap kind of on the brown. And it's going to look a little bit like this. And then I will come back. It's not your eyes. And I will come back and I will, fix it a little bit. So we want to do this outline. So I'm going to let it dry. Oh, wait, let's do this. Make a little line on top of your brown underneath your green. Kind of like that. There's a little dot here. So before we go down, let's give all the details. There's another little dot on that side. So the bugs is what you do on the one side. If you can see the other side, definitely have to do it there too. So I'm going to do 3 little dots. I can only see this one on that side. So that's kind of good. Then doing the outline. So I'm going to go out. The line is not so smooth. So it goes a little bit bigger here. And in this one, it goes a little bit like to the side. The more upright you have your hand, the skinnier your lines will be. And it definitely just ends. There's no fading on this one. The black line just kind of ends right here. And I'm making my little dot. It kind of has a fuzzy edge. So instead of just making a circle, maybe use a little tap, tap, tap to fill it in. Do tap, tap, tap here. Go in. Do an outline around here, again fuzzy, so maybe like tap, 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 so it's not the perfect painted circle. And there's a little dot in the middle. And now you will see, even though it looks so dark, how light it becomes when you pull in the black. The contrast is so much, it kind of looks light. Make sure you get the black really good. Okay, so now I'm going to come down. Same idea, kind of like tap, 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 tap. Do your little triangle and your little spot on the back of your back, in the middle of your back. Come all the way to the bottom. You will see it always dries a little bit lighter, so we can always come back and add another layer on top, but let's do all of them. And then again, on top, it will be a little skinnier. Be careful not to go too thick. The black spots. Make your black line. Definitely, whenever you feel like switching to a smaller brush, you can. And there's a little spot and a little edge of that spot. I think I have it all. Let me just see. Maybe I will go back a little here to make it darker. Now, it is a little harder to paint again with yellow or whatever, but on the top of his back, it is a little bit more yellow. So I'm mixing some more yellow with a little bit of the black and a little bit more of the black. Oops. And I'm gonna just drop it in here, letting clean my brush, suck it up, and then kind of just blend it in. So a little bit light there. Now it's also a good time to see if you need to add more brown. So you can do like a little swishy. Oh, these ones didn't have the dots in yet. Okay, I'll do them now. And then maybe check with your brown because sometimes it dries a little lighter. So you want to kind of add maybe a little bit more. And then see if you're from the brown side, if you can kind of blend in a little bit with the black, but without losing it. So you just want to make that dark line a little softer by tapping on top of it. And you can make a little fuzzy outline. And then maybe add a little brown on top of his head. So right here, you can barely see it. It's not your eyes. It is the bug who doesn't want to focus. Oh, there. I add a little brown there. And I kind of tried to soften those edges right there. And I made the little browner. And then I'm just going to add the black dots. And then this little leg may need a little bit of attention. So I'm just going to make black again towards me. So the highlight is on the top. Just going to give him little toes. Click, click. Make a little. And that is the super cute Picasso bug. Now, his legs can be a little bit more orangey. So if you feel your brown is too brown, I always encourage you to do like a little wash over it. So you can take some of your orange and just add not so much water, and you can just kind of come back and add, so you can, a little wash can bring back some color. If you feel your yellow is not bright enough, you can always come back and add a bit more yellow. I don't know if we should do the shadow, but let me try. I'm going to switch to a bigger brush just because bigger is a little easier. I'm going to use my paint gray with some black, so very subtle bluish black. It looks like this. If I dilute it, but it's going to be a little darker. I'm going to dip into my water cup before I start painting now. Bigger brush, bigger water, bigger paint, all the things is bigger. You need a point though. Look how good is my point. I can point it right in here when I start painting. Wherever you put water down is where your shadow or your paint will go. Even if I drop in color here now with some water, it will not go into my bug or into my leg because it's dry. So I carefully want to paint around it. And then I want to clean my brush, suck it up, blend it out a bit. Now what may happen is that our leg could be the same color. So maybe watch me before you do it and see if you like it. I'm going to do the same here. Point, very important. Make sure you are touching your pencil lines, your legs. And it kind of makes a little shape around his body. So like a little snug next, snug as a bug. So make a little shadow right there. So again, more paint will help. Bigger brush, very helpful. And then clean your brush, suck it up, and then you mess it up. You do want to touch around the foot. Don't just end there, but be careful. Okay, I'm trying to drop in because my brush was a little wet here. Let's go up. We'll visit it again. So if I look at it like this, it's very little here. And then it's a little bigger here. Okay, I like the shadow. Maybe you will like the shadow too. It's always nice to first watch and then see if you like it or not. Well, and you will probably see the picture, but so you want to make sure that your line is kind of consistent and then gets smaller here at the top. I should have not went so big here on the side of his face, but it's still fine, but don't go bigger. And then fade it out. And then fade it out a lot. Sometimes by pointing your brush just here, you can kind of see where your brush is going. So it's just a little bit easier to plan. So turn your paper around, around, around the whole time. Now, it's too wet. Okay, and then what I can see that I may want to do is I just want to go close to his body a little darker. But now it's wet, so I cannot do it. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to switch to my smaller brush just so I can have a bit more control on how much water I want to put down. So the bigger brushes help you to move it easier. Now I want to do a very tiny little line, no more than a 1/4 inch, and you kind of want to fade it in like at the bottom. And then let's see here. And here. So I want to maintain that kind of 1/4 inch idea. And then when you get between these legs, go smaller and then touch his head. And if your line is really dark, you can just kind of drag your wet paintbrush over it, but you don't want to pull it out. Make sure you go all the way. And that's the cute Picasso bug. I would just leave it as is.